Thank you so much. My Lebanese friends, I love you guys, but you guys are crazy. Woo! I think I just walked out here and my mind went back inside. Oh, there's so many people here. It's been an amazing morning so far. Please forgive me just a second. I need to take this moment in for just a minute. I'm really up here. I guess I'm not dreaming anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a dream 12 years ago. You see, my journey with MDRT started in this very same room back in 2006, when I attended my first experience meeting right here in Bangkok. I was sitting exactly where you all are sitting today, and I still remember the energy and the excitement that filled this hall back then. It was amazing. Energizing music, amazing speakers, powerful presentations, friends that we made. It was the best meeting that I had ever attended. And when that meeting was over, I remember thinking to myself, what a great association. I had to become a member. But when I returned to my country and I was so excited to see what are the qualification requirements, reality set in. I thought to myself, how could I possibly do that? I'd been in this business for 8 years at the time. I never got close to qualifying for MDRT, according to the numbers. My name is Fred Belman, and I was born in Rockledge, Florida, a small little country in the United States. When I was 27 years old, I decided to make a major life move. I took my family and moved from Rockledge, Florida, to Beirut, Lebanon, a tiny little country in the Middle East. To give you an idea, the population of Lebanon is about 3.5 million people. There's more people living in one neighborhood in Bangkok than the entire country of Lebanon. When I moved to Lebanon, the country was just coming out of a 30-year civil war. Not 2 years, not 3 years, but 30 years of war. It's enough time to destroy the fabric of any society. The economy was in shambles. And to make matters worse, I discovered that if I want to qualify for MDRT, the qualification numbers in Lebanon were the same levels as those required in the United States. I thought to myself, how could I possibly become a member? Production levels as high as the US, but in a country torn by war and social unrest, I thought MDRT must be crazy. And I brought this up several times. I was going to give up on that idea. But then I remembered, that meeting in Bangkok, I picked up a couple of ideas, and I figured I might as well give it a try, half-heartedly. I never imagined for a second that I would be addressing insurance agents from around the world from this coveted stage. But fast forward 12 years to today, and somehow I did something that got me here. Making it in this business didn't happen by my own efforts alone. No one can make it alone, whether it's in this business or anything else. I mean, it takes all of us to make a community, to make an organization, to make a society. I just want to take a moment to thank all the speakers and the advisors who have spoken on the MDRT stages around the world for the wisdom and the knowledge that they've shared over the years. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting could change your life. As agents, most of us are agents here. The support that we have from home also makes all the difference in the world. I know that I would have never made it in this business, and I would not be standing here today without the unyielding support of my best friend of the last 28 years and the love of my life, Fred Belman. Iman, all I can say is thank you. I'm glad I found you. I'm glad you said yes, even though I wondered a few times that you wouldn't. You're the best thing that's happened to me. I love you, and thank you for everything you do for me and for the kids. All the spouses of all the agents, thank you for putting up with us as we go to try to make this world a better place. This is what we're trying to do. But the story of how I got here today really started way back in 1945. At the time, the U.S. was just coming out of World War II, in which my father had served in the U.S. military. That's my father. Today, well, this year he'll turn 100. After being honorably discharged from the U.S. Army, he went into business in Atlanta, Georgia, where he became a very prominent businessman. He owned several restaurants, jewelry stores, and the largest taxi cab company in Atlanta, Georgia. At the time, he was worth millions. I don't know if anybody knows who this lady is. Her name is Margaret Mitchell. She's the author of Gone with the Wind, the most famous writer who lived in the day. One day, she was crossing a street in Atlanta, Georgia, and she was struck by a drunk driver driving a taxi cab and died a few days later. Now, guess who owned the taxi cab? My father's company. At this point, after several years, his businesses started to fall apart due to public prejudice and due to being underinsured. He went from being worth millions in 1949 to having nothing. But my father, he's a resilient man. And when it was all over, he moved to Rockledge, Florida, and he started over again. And in 1967, he married my mother, and he got his little family started. That's me and my mom. But again, tragedy was to strike. Because on July 24th, 1974, my mom was crossing an intersection and was hit by a drunk driver and killed instantly. My poor father, he has really bad luck with drunk drivers. I remember that day because I was supposed to be in the car with her. For some reason, when I was getting into the car, he said, "You know what? Come with me and your sister. Your mom's going to be late." He was right. She was late. We got home, we waited for mom, and we waited, and we waited. But she never came home. I remember my father getting that call from the hospital. I was only 5 and just barely remember these things. I remember the scene when we arrived and when we know that she had passed away. It was a difficult time. I remember my father went through a lot. However, this time he was better prepared. He had been given good advice, maybe from an MDRT member in those days, I don't know. And he had insured himself and my mom properly. I can tell you it was because of that death claim that we collected at the time that I was able to stay in my private school. I was able to stay in my home. My father was able to hire a nanny to take care of me and my sister as he rebuilt his life. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking from experience, no one can do what we do for our clients, no one. And never doubt the importance of what you do for your clients every day. You are the few who protect the millions. I remember my first death claim in this business. I hadn't been in the business long, but his name was Nabil. He had been suffering from leukemia for a couple of years. When he calls me one day, he says, "Fred, I need to see you." I said, no problem. We'll meet next week. He said, "No, if you could come today, it would be really a personal favor that I would be asking of you." So he's a friend. So I canceled my meetings. I drove up to see him. He's sitting outside in the yard under the oak tree. His 2 little kids are playing in the garden. He looked like the Grim Reaper of death was standing over his shoulder. He looked so bad. He said, "Fred, thank you for coming. The reason that I called you is because I just checked out of the hospital. They tell me to go home and enjoy my family because I only have a few days left." I said, "Yes." He said, "The reason that I wanted to see you, do you remember when you sold me those policies all those years ago? You promised me that if anything ever happened to me, that my wife would maintain her dignity, that my kids would finish their education. I need to look you in the eye and I need to ask you, is that going to happen because you're all they have?" What do you tell a person like this? I said, "You know, Nabil, it's been an honor knowing you, and I'm really sorry that this had to happen to you. But everything that we can do, we've done. Don't worry about your kids. I'll make sure they're okay. A few days later, got the call, he passed away. We paid the claim. His kids are graduating university this year. I'd like to think that I made a difference in this family's life. The reason I tell you this story is because if one day your client calls you to have this discussion, what will your answer be? Have you done a good job for your clients? If you want to qualify for MDRT this year, when you go home, call all of your clients. Tell them about this meeting that you've witnessed. And tell them about an advisor who suggested that you call all of your clients, or at least go through all of the files and ask the question, have I done a good job for my clients? Tell them, you know, Mr. Client, when I got to your file, I couldn't answer that question. I need to see you to make sure that we've done everything correctly. Go fill in the gaps. I'm sure there are gaps. We can qualify all of us for MDRT next year. I once read that the average agent will meet 10,000 people in their lifetime. There's about 8,000 people in this room today. If every one of us changes the life of just 10 people, and they change the lives of another 10 and those another 10, then in a few generations, this meeting has the potential to impact the lives of 800 million people. Whether it's through a disability claim that you pay, or helping people to retire comfortably, or just through inspiration when somebody is just feeling down and out, you are important. All of you make a difference. Everyone in this room represents enormous potential to make this world a better place. But my question is are we doing that which we know we should be doing every day? When I first started in this business in Lebanon, I experienced what every new agent experiences. I had the thoughts of, why is this so hard? Maybe I'm not cut out for this work. I'll just do this long enough until I find something better. How many of us have this thought? It was a hard road. But looking back over the last 20 years, I can answer yes, this was the right path. But what I'm here to say to you today is that if I can do this, you can do this. If I can make it in this business, everyone in this room can make it, and never doubt it. And the reason that I say this with such compassion, earlier I mentioned that I moved to Lebanon, but what I didn't tell you is that when I moved to Lebanon, in Lebanon, they speak Arabic. I couldn't speak the Arabic language. I had no natural market. I had to cold call for meetings. When I was able to get a meeting, which is very seldom, I would have to go searching for the location the day before because I'd get lost. There was no GPS back then. I want you to imagine just for a moment that you guys are in the business of life insurance in your countries, and you can't properly transfer the ideas due to a language barrier. You're building your practice through cold calls, not knowing where to go for a meeting in a country that's just coming out of a 30-year civil war, with an economy which is on life support. If you're of the wrong religion, certain people would not buy from you. They might even want you dead. That's what a civil war does. Most people would say that I had every right and every reason to fail. But failure is not an option. When I look back on that time, all I can think is, that was impossible. And I really hope I never have to go through that. I hope no one has to go through that. But I've mentored agents over the years, and I find that everyone has a blame list. The reasons that they believe that things are not working out for them. Some of these may sound familiar to you. Some of the agents I've heard say, the company policy is just no good. The commission structure, if they pay us these kind of commissions, how do they expect us to do well? Taxes are too high, they take all our money. The economy's not doing well, there's too much traffic, I can't see all the clients. My negative relatives keep putting me down. Does this sound familiar to anybody? We tend to curse the only things that we have. The reason why it's so important to strive for MDRT membership is because MDRT encourages us not to wish for things to be easier, but to strive that we might become better. Not to wish for less problems, but to wish for more wisdom, for more skills, to work harder on ourselves than we do on our job. Powerful phrase for your notes. My mentor said, if you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you'll never have to worry about selling. This is what MDRT preaches. MDRT entered my life at a unique time in 2006. It's kind of hard to describe good fortune, a remarkable thing that happens at a particular time in your life. But attending my first meeting here in Bangkok, it changed my life. Because the ideas that we gather from meetings like this may have taken me a lifetime to discover if I had to look for them on my own. For many of you, this is your first experience with MDRT, and some of you may be new to the business. Your journey is just beginning. When the road feels too hard, this is the place that you can turn to for knowledge and inspiration to keep moving forward, to draw strength from those people who have gone before us. My friend Mokadi, I think you're out there, Mokadi, somewhere, from South Africa. Mokadi, my friend. I heard his description of MDRT. He said, when a baby is born, if they make it through the birth canal, there's a chance that he or she will live for a long time, but there's no guarantee that they will grow up to be a good person. It all depends on how they're raised and in which environment that they're raised. In the life insurance business, if an agent makes it through the first 2 years, there's a good chance that he or she will stay in the business, but there's no guarantee of how successful they will become. But when you're an MDRT member and when you're exposed to meetings like this one, and the people of this organization, there's no way not to reach your full potential in this business. So ladies and gentlemen, I have to close. We cannot walk alone. We cannot make it alone. We cannot turn back, not when there's so many children and families to protect, so many widows to care for, and so many lives to help rebuild. How can you turn back from a responsibility like that? So when you question whether or not this is the right business for you, or you wonder if you have a value to the marketplace, or if you are important, remember my story, because if I could do it with all the challenges that I faced of not speaking the language and not knowing anybody in a war-torn country, all of you can do it. If you're willing to work hard, it doesn't matter where you come from or what you look like or who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white, tall or short, old or young, rich, poor, able, disabled, gay, straight. It doesn't matter. You can make it in this great business if you're just willing to try. We are more important than we believe. Remind yourselves and the world that we work in the greatest business on earth. With lots of hard work and persistence, we will continue our journey. So let us march forward to a better future for ourselves, for our families and our clients and our countries. God bless you all, and God bless the $1 Million Round Table.